What's up, guys? Coach Vic. Just wanted to shoot you a video in reference to continuing on our champions journey so you get a better understanding. So like we said before, we have who am I, and then we embark upon our champions journey. So this will also help you, especially if you're in my program, if you're in my coaching program. That means that you are a coach or a person that feels like you personally have a purpose in this lifetime to help or to do something, or that you've been called, which is why this video is called My Calling. You've been called to do more. You've been called to do more than what's been afforded to you, because for whatever reason you're out there, you're floating around in the world, and no matter where you are in your journey and your experience, you feel like you've been called to serve a purpose in this world. So that's why you do what you do. That motivates you. That continues you to seek more answers in where you're going. So what I wanted to do was do something that would actually help you walk down this path that I embarked upon, which even now with my mentors like Garrett, with my mentors like Kevin, with my mentors like Sam, with my mentors all over the place. I wanted to start off today's conversation with my calling. And you could say my calling, but really what I want you to do is have this be something that you look at to really line up your personal calling based on the purpose that you say that you have, based on the purpose that you've embarked upon over time. So I want to start off this conversation with my first, well, I won't say my first, but I will say the first realization that I had a calling, that more to life was afforded to me. And I'll say it was by one of my first mentors outside of a parental mentor, friend mentor, things like that, which was legitimately a mentor of mine. And his name was Mr. Mackey, or Coach Mack, or which turned out to be a really good, one of my best friends. There was a time I had, I was hustling at the time. I was selling drugs and I was doing all this stuff. I had already been divorced, already been the abusive husband, already been doing these things. I was selling drugs, running back and forth. And there was this one day that I went to the gym and I met Mr. Mack. So we were there, we were talking. He had this martial arts school, which I wasn't involved in martial arts at the time, and he invited me out. He ran a dojo, him and another guy named Mr. Bass. Right. So Mr. Bass, Mr. Mack, Mr. Mack is actually the person that I met first. We were talking. We had this connection at the water fountain. He asked me, was I a traveling man? I didn't know what the hell that meant. I didn't understand he was talking because he's a Mason. So it caused us to connect. There was something about him that attracted me to the insight that he had. He wasn't like everybody else who I had met yet. So during that time frame, I go to his school and I'm hustling at the time. He doesn't know that. I don't share that information, but I go and I just find something different about my interaction with him. Well, during that time, he had something going on. So I knew that there was something going on behind for him personally. He was there that day and I stayed back. I think someone passed away in his family and I was talking to him about that. So while we're standing there talking, he's telling me thank you for acknowledging that fact. And I miss connecting with some guys that at the time that I was I gave some money to go to Houston and hustle up and buy some more work, buy some more drugs. So I ended up missing connecting with them, missing talking to them, missing going, all these other things. And a few days later after that, from my interaction standing there talking to Mr. Mack, I didn't get the opportunity to fully kind of invest myself in what was going on with my buddies. His name was Tommy. Well, turns out, lo and behold, Tommy and the rest of the guys that were in that trip to Houston, they all got killed. And anybody that knows me, anybody that knows Tommy, anybody that knows my brother can remember this time frame. So that was one of my things where standing talking to Mr. Mack, I started realizing something. My brother came to the house and my brother Jesse was like, you know what, man, good thing you didn't go to Houston or good thing you didn't connect with them. Good thing we didn't do all these things, this, that, and next, because it's been a few days, nobody heard from them, man. They just found out all of them are dead. All of them. And it was like, it still didn't dawn on me that was something that stood out to me, like that my life wasn't promised, that I had a purpose for something. You see, Mr. Mack was at the time inviting me to church. And I was like, I don't really want to go to church, not really saying what I did. So later down the line, he would always talk to me about these things. We would always have these deeper conversations that I would have with the people around me, which made me look at my life very differently. It truly made me look at everybody very differently. So it wasn't until those times where I'm dealing with people who slowly got killed. I'm dealing with people who I was supposed to kind of be around at some point that they're no longer around. They were either locked up, they were killed, they had other things happen to them, that even in the sense of having my son Aaron. There was times when I was supposed to be somewhere and someone else gets busted, locked up because of the drug game that I was in, and I'm not there because I'm at the park with my son. Or I cut out from staying out late because me and his mom at the time and my son were going somewhere and doing something. So that kept me safe. Well, I didn't realize that I had a purpose in life, but because my son became my purpose, didn't still resonate with me that at that time my son became my purpose, yet at the same time I had a calling. I was called to do something different. So therefore, with that calling ensued the fact that I in turn had a purpose for living. You see, as a coach, when we talked about who am I talked about going ghost. I talked about being upset. I talked about walking a little bit on the dark side of your life and finding that that side of your life was an internal driver to keep you going. Then with that internal driver drives you also to the light to find out even more so where you are. And you find that on the other side of you, you are this person of compassion, of love, of caring. At the same time, you're this person of what people call sin, right and wrong. You're this person that wants sex, that wants these fancy things, that wants the big nice house, that wants to make millions of dollars, that really truly wants to conquer. Yet at the same time, you're a person that wants to conquer with compassion for other people without stomping them and rubbing them into the dirt. So when you combine those things and they both cross the finish line together, what do we say? You now begin to have a purpose in life. And with that purpose, what keeps you going to even have a purpose is the fact that you have a calling. And Mr. Mack was one of the few people that resonated with me, that when I look back on my life, when I look at my holy shit moment, that was my changing statement, my changing time frame, my changing side. This was the person that I can start off my aha moment story with and say that my calling started there at that time. So when I looked at that, I put a model together to say, okay, these are the things that I did to be able to retrace the steps, to be able to understand for me, and to be able to help my guys understand for them their calling that situated themselves into the purpose that they're in. That purpose formulates the coaching program, or the coaching, or the helping, or the receiving, or that calling situated the testimony that will eventually coach other people past the parts of their life that may seem a little dark. So when I put this together, I made it into, this must be the time of your reflection. I'm not talking about a time where you reflect and you look back, but I'm talking about a time within your reflection where you see somebody and you see where they are and you look at what you're able to see. It goes inside of you the way that I was taught. And then when it comes back out, it comes out into the reflection. So if you're still in a place where you are in judgment of other people, then you are internally always judging yourself harshly. If someone does something and you can look at them and go, you know what, man, I don't really like what that person did. I think that person should have did this. That reflection is really a reflection on you internally. Then when I looked at that, I go, look, let's look at my world. My world says I'm supposed to do it this way. My world, meaning that my world inside of me, I have a world, you have a world, right? World can also mean what my rules say. The rules of my world say I can only step this way. I can only walk this way. I can only eat this thing. I can only believe in that thing. Yet at the same time, when we look at the reflection of ourselves and how we perceive others is basically a reflection of how we receive ourselves. When we look at our own rules about the world and what our world allows us to do or not allows us to do, when we question the ability of those rules, when we question the depth of our world, we begin to see that the world is much bigger and our rules can be elaborated on to where they begin to make sense in all perspectives. So now we don't reflect other people's positions so harshly because we're not reflecting on ourselves so harshly, because we've now expanded our personal rules and our personal world about what we are available to and capable of doing. When we go to our next rule or our next conversation in our model of how you construct your calling, how you came to be, you look at my eclipse. If you think about the sun on a day of the eclipse, what happens? The moon's shadow begins to cast over the sun. So in essence, we align and we cannot see what is truly the light. Yet at the same time, that darkness, that dark place that we've been, needs to also be able to cover up the light. So at some point in your time in your life, if you were to think about the time when it's been the most hectic, the time when you've been the most dark, the time when you've wanted to win so bad, the times that it seemed like you were going through all this stuff alone, and then you come out of that perspective and you realize that there's other people they're in the light, you were in the darkness for a moment. You were going through bullshit and they were actually living the life, and you see them. There's at some point in time in your life where you're going to come in contact with somebody who's also going through some bullshit and you are living the life. And until you understand that you have personally had your own eclipse, you can't look back at someone else in the dark and say, look, man, I've been in the darkness. Even though I'm in the light, I'm here to help you. And they can't also look at you and be in the light while you're in the darkness and say the same thing about you, until they understand that we will all go through all of our own personal eclipses. Next, we move on to our purpose. Our purpose is about helping someone. When you have a calling, you have a purpose. Your purpose is the way that you will connect with other people. Your purpose is your connection. I cannot connect with you. I cannot have a purpose. I cannot serve my calling unless I have a major reflection on myself and how I'm projecting and what I'm saying about you versus how I see myself. I can't have and serve my calling and serve my purpose unless I've already went through my own expansion of my own personal world, my own religious beliefs, my own backgrounds, my own right and wrongs, my own rules about what's real and what's not real for me. I can't actually serve my calling and have a purposeful connection with you if I'm not already understanding that I've had my own eclipses and so have you. I've been afraid, yet at the same time I've been strong. I've been weak, yet at the same time I've been strong. I have been powerful, yet at the same time I've been weak. I've been rich, yet at the same time I've been broke. I've had a roof over my head, yet at the same time, I too have been homeless. I have to have that understanding of the eclipse of my world so I can also look at you and I can have a purpose and serve my calling to helping you because I've been on both sides of that spectrum. You see, when you have an understanding where you operate from your purpose, you don't have a problem walking through an eclipse with somebody else because that's your calling to help them. You don't have a problem with your purpose. You understand you've had an eclipse, yet you've also had the opportunity to expand your world and your rules about your world and your view on yourself and your view on other people. And you begin to question what that is because those questions cause you to expand and open up. Jesus spoke in parables because his reasoning for that was to take people and not chastise them, but to have them understand through parables they can expand their world and they need to have a different reflection on what they think was true prior to having a conversation with him, rather than him judging them harshly and beating them up. There was time enough for that. You see, his purpose and his calling is quite like ours, peeps. Quite like ours, guys. You are the champion of your domain. When you have a calling in your business, then you serve your purpose by helping people because you know that there's something bigger out there, there's something bigger than you. You are called to do more by serving your purpose, coaching people that you are called to serve, serving them with the reflection that you don't judge them harshly because of your own personal reflection of yourself. You don't judge them harshly because you haven't spent the time qualifying and quantifying your own personal rules and your own personal world about what you feel is right and what you are capable of, because you understand that everybody personally is capable and everybody actually gets the opportunity to expand over time, and it's your job as a coach to help them do so. It is your job as a coach and it's your purpose to understand that we will all have to walk in the dark. And it helps when someone who's already walked in the dark, they already know where everything is in the room, even if the lights are off, that they can take that person by the hand and walk them through to a safe space if they go in together without judging them, knowing that they've been in that place too. That's how you operate from purpose. That's how your calling begins to serve your purpose, because you are called to do more in this life than just walk around and make a shit ton of money. If you can operate from a place of purpose, connecting with your guys, then everything else will follow. The money will follow. The purpose will follow. They'll get the body that they want. They'll have the relationships that they want. Because in your relationship, you've experienced the eclipse. You've had to expand your rules and your regulations in your world about your relationship. You've also had a reflection on your personal relationship where you can not judge someone else's and you can take a look at your own because you had the time to fix yours, work on yours, and you're constantly fixing your relationship so you don't judge the fixing process that they're in personally. You can go to them with love without justification. You can call them into the carpet and tell them that they're just being a pussy about it because you know for yourself that you had to come out of the phase of being a pussy about your own. So when I say these things, guys, I say them because I care about you, because I have a calling. And my purpose is to help you and to serve you as a coach, to make you better, to get you to understand that you have a start, you have a finish, you have a place that you're going, and for you to have that calling on your own personal life, for you to be a purpose-driven coach, for you to be a calling-driven coach, to where as you step out into the marketplace with your message to call people into you with a baseline understanding of where it started for you. With me, Mac was an eye-opener. He got me to take a look at things very differently, about martial arts, about myself, about God, about the Bible, about my relationship with my parents, about my relationship with myself, about my relationship with my son, about my relationship with my father, about all the relationships that were necessary to move me forward towards I can still have a relationship with you guys and call you to the carpet to be better for the people that you are called to serve, all at the while understanding that I've been there and I will continue to go through things. I continue to seek these coaches because I have a calling in my life to continue to serve my purpose, to where I continue to look at the reflection that I'm putting out into the world, that I continue to expand my world and my worldviews and my own personal rules, that I continue to look at my eclipse and know that I'm still going through darkness at the same time I'm walking in the light to somebody else, for somebody else at some point, and I can continue to reach down and help that person overcome. That's how you understand where your calling has come from. That's how you understand how to operate out of your level of purpose when you craft your message for other people to come to you. When you craft your programs for your other people to work with you. When you craft your trainings for other people to work with you and have them be a part of your coaching programs, that's how you decide. That's how you know you are not talking to me because you are not a person that feels like you weren't called to be more in your life. That you didn't already have a purpose so you can be better, so you can help other people be better. You didn't go through all the bullshit that you've been through so far for nothing. That you know that something out there is for you. It just can't be this way. If you're supposed to be a champion in the ring, if you're supposed to be the champion in the business, if you're supposed to make millions and millions of dollars serving other people, yet at the same time, some of your guys' calling may just be to be the ultimate father, and your purpose may be just to serve your kids at a higher level so you can be better. Some of you guys may not have a calling to do all the other stuff that I think you're called to do. Yet at the same time, it's nothing wrong for you to seek and expand. Look at your own reflection. Look at your own world. Look at your own eclipse. Look at your own purpose and desire to want something more because you were called to do more. The more that you are, the more people you can help. The more you subject yourself to learning about you, the more people that you can help to learn about themselves. That is what it means to be a coach, guys. That is what it means to walk upon this journey. You combine your calling, you combine your purpose, you combine that with your journey, you combine that with your tribe, you combine that with your message, you combine that with your program, you combine that with your product. Now you have a coaching program that actually serves the world, not continues to suck from it like most people do. Again, guys, this is Coach Vic. I'll elaborate on these programs in the videos to come, but for now, this is an overview of what your calling is. This is an overview of how I started to get a baseline understanding when I was younger, in my 20s. Even though I knew I had a calling, I knew I had a purpose from a young kid leaving home young. It wasn't until I went on this tread, this journey, this understanding, and I met a mentor that called me to the carpet and had me expand my reflection of how I saw myself and other people. How I looked at my own personal rules and my own world and what was really about that and where it started and why I looked at things the way that I did, and called me to the carpet to have a better understanding and made me ask better questions of myself, which caused me to ask better questions of other people. He called me to look at my own personal eclipses about the selling drugs, about the abusive husband, about the being a drunk, the being homeless, the being able to have a kid at a young age, to have no responsibilities, and didn't have full responsibilities, to not be able to look at other people and judge them on that plight, even though they may not have made the choices that I made. They still made choices nonetheless, and they were just as important, and they just had a purpose just like me, and it was my calling to stay in the game long enough to help them. He called me to the carpet to understand that I did have a purpose. That was much more than I was playing the game to be. It caused me to rise to my occasion, which caused me to lean on the understanding of the people who I didn't understand at some point, because I was able to become a better man. Do you get that? That's my goal for you. My goal as a coach is to ask you better questions rather than give you the answers. If I give you the answers, you'll just bump heads with me. At some point, you'll deny the fact that there could be something there. It's not for me to tell you. It's for me to question you and for you to ask better questions of yourself and arise at your own answers. Arise at your own purpose. Arise at your own calling. I'm just going to give you the tools and the model to be able to do so. So I want you guys to remember this, guys. When you're looking at your calling, you want to look at my reflection, my world, my eclipse, and my purpose to move on to where you want to go. Stay tuned for the next video. I'm going to elaborate on my reflection, and I'll give you the points and the strategies to be able to walk down that path so you see where you are, where you're reflecting at, where other people are reflecting on you, and how you are putting that back out there and how you could make yourself better and have a better understanding of what your calling really is as a coach, as a mentor, as a brother, as a son, as a father, Okay, Coach Vic.